Okay, so we're reacting to some more viewer tattoos. I think these are just leg tattoos today.
Fun.
This first one might take a minute. Just
Cool.
forewarning.
So this says cover up ideas. I've seen a few people, maybe it's just one guy, doing gigantic trad pieces with super fat lines. Oh no, that's a thing.
Blastovers is what
Yeah.
he's talking about, but like that's not a cover up. I don't consider a blastover a cover up.
No, it's a blast over.
Blastover is done.
Literally a blast over.
Well, like, but by my def, because some people will call cover-ups blast-overs. Like they'll be like,
Different.
"I'm gonna blast over my." It's like no, because like a blast-over is you're doing it almost to.
You want to keep both layers.
Well, it's like paying homage to an old tattoo.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's
Well,
like a cover-up, and the context is different too. Because cover-up is it's either I don't like what I have or I'm wanting to move in a new direction.
yeah, I'm trying to cover up is I hate what I have, I'm trying to get rid of it. Blast over is I like what I have, but I want more tattoos and I kind of want the old ones to still be visible, but I want a new one over top.
It's like I want to frame the old one with new one.
Yeah.
Right. So that wouldn't be a cover up.
There's no intention
not
to
to
get
be a
rid of.
stickler for
Yeah.
the details, but there is a big important difference between a blast over and a cover up, and a blast over never intends to fill in. Like a good example of a blast over is that Grim Reaper that we showed off
Yeah.
the other week, where they just put the bold line Grim Reaper over top of the old shit.
Yeah.
And I said it should have been much bigger.
So like
This I don't recommend a blast over for because there's still all kinds of space here.
yeah, you would want this to be full and then you blast it over.
Yeah,
And
typically like blast overs are like this area is done. I can't do any more with it. Now
And
let's do a new one.
I feel like typically blast overs are done on very colorful pieces.
Mm-hmm.
Like you would blast over something extremely colorful.
And then your tattoo almost has its like shading and colored in already.
Yeah,
in the
it looks
tattoo.
like weird watercolor or some abstract.
Something that I've come around to liking a little bit more is like when they like I seen one actually in person recently. It was like a blackout like flower sleeve, and there were some old shitty color tattoos underneath.
Yeah, I like
I
that
kind
too.
of like it a little bit more than I used to, but it will always vary on the piece that they've done it with, right? So like sometimes like I think it was full color. It looks better than if it's like black and gray shit,
I agree.
right? Because then it just looks like a mess.
Like something bright as hell.
Yeah,
would
because
need
then
to
it has
be
this like texture
blasted over.
pattern,
Yeah.
almost like floral wallpaper or something, and you just paint it around it, right? It can kind of have a cool look to it. This I think is too soft for that though,
Yeah.
right? Like these pieces they're not even like they're like really soft illustrative. They're not quite neotrad.
No.
They're like color illustrative. If these were all done as neotrad pieces, then a big bold blast over would be cool. But I think it's too much work to recolor them all to do that, you know. So
Yeah, the palette's too muted, I think, for
It's a
a
really muted-
blast over.
and there's too much space. So like I would say just keep adding more of these, and if you do want to cover them up, I think your best bet is honestly going to be blackout. I don't think doing like because like there's so many different colors and there's so many different tones. You could go over these with opaques or some really really strong color, but like you would easily be doing your entire leg, like easily.
Yeah, you have to cover this whole entire
And
top
then
of your
like
leg.
there isn't too much room to work off of anything, right? Because this is such a cluttered section here that like you typically like the rule of thumb is a cover up needs to be around 300 to 400% bigger than what you're covering, and you don't have 300 to 400% more space here for that.
No, you have no space.
So like you could go to an Andre Makishi, and I bring this guy up all the time. We featured him here, and he could just pretend this tattoo doesn't even exist. Or even I've seen Massacrov do these. We're gonna have him on here again soon because I've got some really cool stuff that I've seen.
I love
from
his
him.
work. It's amazing.
Done a lot of really impressive cover ups lately, and it's just like some people have done so many cover ups that they're just like sure, and they treat it like there isn't even a tattoo there.
No, yeah.
But like most of your kind of garden variety tattooers are gonna look at this and go, yeah, you're gonna want to laser or black that out, and most of them won't know what to do with the blackout after, but like they're gonna ask you to do something to lighten this or You're
Or
just
they're
gonna
just
end
going
up,
to tell you no.
or they're gonna tell
Like
you
a
no.
lot of them are going to tell you no.
Well, it's just like, because like even if they could do it, it's probably not worth the trouble,
Yeah.
right? Like if this comes in here and say you have 4 or 5 clients that are just wanting a regular tattoo, and this guy comes in with this, guess which one you're taking? Most times it's not worth the headache. So you either need someone who does these all the time, doesn't mind, or just black it out. But I mean, what's here isn't terrible. Like some of it's kind of wishy-washy, but and it's all different fucking sizes and shit. But I don't mind the shark, and the rose is
I
kind
was
of
going to
cool.
say, I think the main pieces, the bird, the snake, the skull rose, the shark, those are nice.
Yeah.
I think it's the weird shit you have by your knee.
Where they start getting smaller and more random, that's where they start to get worse.
Well, they look like apprentice tattoos.
Yeah, well, yeah, they do, but the problem is, like, I think it's like all the same shop, and it's all instructed by the same person to some degree. Like, they all have a similar style, and their color palette is very similar. I don't know if that necessarily means that it's all the same guy, but maybe it's like, I got some of these done by the master and some of these done by his apprentice, or maybe he's getting better as he goes.
I don't even know.
Because like it's a very consistent depth that I'm seeing here, right? Like I've said this before, but like everyone packs color in a different way. It seems like.
Yeah, and this color is packed, but not at the same time.
Oh yeah,
like, it's weird.
This wouldn't show up on me. Like I've said before, like you might get a little bit of this in, but like to get color over blackout, it has to be bulletproof, and a lot of this is pretty wishy-washy.
Well, it's passable, but it's not packed.
It's that thing where like the skin has swollen and you only got so much in before you couldn't see what was in there. You know what I mean? Whereas someone who does color all the time will probably be able to get the maximum amount of saturation before that happens.
Yep.
Or they'll know when that's happened, and then they'll move on.
Well, they know how to cause less trauma in like
More efficiency,
Yeah.
fluency of language, almost like you speaking the language of tattooing very, very well, and able to communicate to the skin what needs to happen before it's too late. It's the same thing with like Hood doing those like pretty beautiful blackouts in one pass.
Yeah.
That is very rare, and almost every color tattoo or full saturation tattoo, if it doesn't need a second pass, it could definitely benefit from one. That's pretty much every color tattoo.
Yeah.
Most people don't care and they think it's good enough, but if you show me your color tattoo that was done in one session, in almost every case I'll show you a tattoo that could use a touch-up. So yeah, that could probably use a touch-up.
Yeah. It's bulletproof, but it could
pretty
use a
goddamn
touch-up.
good.
It's been like 20 years.
It's been a long time. But yeah, that guy's a color packer, so
Yeah.
that's like Rick. His color is generally, when it's in there, you know? Unless you're in the extremes like what I'm talking about with me, where it's like, well, with black, it's like, who knows?
Yeah.
Probably
And
need more.
for context, I just showed Remy a Ryan Gagne tattoo. He's a local artist, and he packs fucking color crazy.
He probably just the most viral thing he's ever done with that white on black one. I've seen that on my Explore page a few times.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, he packs like it's
Yeah.
crazy. And the tattoo I have is from 2010, and it looks almost brand new.
Yeah, it's dated, but it looks good for its age.
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, we're moving on. We have a knee tattoo here by from Zach.
It says, here's a knee tattoo I got done by Dejan Furlan in Vancouver. I hope I said your name right. I'm sorry. It hurts. Love the content. Keep it up. I'm sure the knee hurts. I don't have anything on my knees.
You know what? I don't find the knee hurts.
Really?
No, I find the knee itch sucks.
I've tattooed a few knees and no one likes it.
I mean, I just think a lot of people like, and not to be rude, but and also I think there's always some variance person to person, but I think a lot of people that say a tattoo hurts a lot, they just don't have a ton of experience,
Right.
or like they just don't like being tattooed.
Yeah.
Because like and overall, like I find that the knee and the elbow and places like that are pretty tolerable.
Yeah, I didn't
You
find
get
my
into
elbow
your
bad.
deep inner thigh or your bum cheek or something, then you tell me what your knee feels like.
Yeah, I personally did not find the knee bad.
No, I don't.
Or not the knee, the elbow. So I don't.
The knee is even less painful than the elbow. I think it's just big and meaty, and it feels tough. You know, it's like it can take the beating. This they saved quite a bit of time, and they did it in a bit of a kind of an intelligent way, where they just lined the knee, but at the same time, like the lines on the knee they're gonna blob up a bit with the passage of time. Like I had my legs blacked out like nearly 5 years ago, and they're almost perfect today. The only parts of them that are milky are my knees. And so when you put so much of the emphasis on lines over a knee, and the knee is probably going to be the kind of driest, craggliest, or blurriest part of the whole tattoo, I feel like having the structure of it be on the knee like that is both good and a bad idea, right? Because like I don't think it would have been great to pack the black there either necessarily, but in this composition, maybe.
So for me, I would have done less lines.
Oh yeah.
If any at all. I think that if it was an open composition, black and white, I think it would have looked better.
Well, no, I think
maybe a couple lines.
I think what needed to happen here is some of both.
It's too gray.
Like some of both would have been better. So like if they had have done some of these waves or these whatever the fuck they are.
They're lines. This is a flower.
No, but like whatever the fuck these leaves or waves or whatever the fuck they are, it doesn't matter. If they had have done some of them negative and some of them lined, it
maybe
would have
towards
been,
the center.
No, just all throughout. Whatever you do anywhere, you have to carry everywhere. You can't just go, oh, this is the knee, so we're going to go negative here.
Yeah, so, okay.
That looks stupid.
Let me say, the problem with this composition for me is that the lines are acting as the shade.
Yeah,
right?
Of course, it's line shaded.
So, yeah. So they shaded the whole flower. And I think that, like, in the deeper parts of the flower, they should have used lines. And then the parts that are, like... where there would have been a natural highlight, they shouldn't have put lines at all, if that makes sense. Like it's tonal now.
I just think that it's like it's all together too busy.
Yeah.
Like the dark black parts are nice. There aren't enough of them throughout. Like in this cluster here, more. In this here, more. Break them up more, or have less lines, or have some of these lined and others not lined, like so that there's more light or more dark, right? Maybe some of these could have been black in places, like you could have done black at the start of them in some places.
I just think the black balance would have been a little more decent if they hadn't lined as much.
When you do things like this where it's super, super dense in some areas and not in others, it's like you're almost trying to mask something. That's typically used as like a cover-up method, right? So like why is there's flow at the top and the bottom on either side, but then in the center it's so dense for some reason? It almost looks like you're trying to put like a tablecloth over something.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? To mask like a spill. It's just not open enough in the center, and for some reason like the center is right on the knee. So it's like that should have been, if anything, the most minimal spot on this. Like usually with elbows and knees, you kind of skirt around them because not because it's painful, but because those areas are dry and they bend a lot and they're not going to saturate as well.
Yeah.
So I would be very curious to see how all those lines look when it's fully bent. And also, like, when it's a couple years healed. Not, like, healed right away. Because, like I said, my knee blackouts, they were pitch black at first. But over the course of many years, they have rubbed off to some degree. Right? So,
yeah. And
some of those lines aren't sharp now. Like, some of them look blown out and blobby now when you get really close in there.
Yeah, I was just looking at it. I think this is trying to mimic, like a lino cut. And like, you're not getting these fine lines in a lino cut. You're not. Like, you don't cut lines
They're just,
like this.
they're not in there now.
Yeah, it's just, I don't know. It just doesn't look right.
You can see the wrinkles of his skin are clearer than the line.
Yeah.
Look, and parts of the line have already been just like completely disregarded. The skin was like, nope.
Yeah.
Right? Like the skin was like, nope, no black ink today, son.
Yeah, no, this is...
Because look how sharp they are up here.
I just don't think this even would have looked good on, like, not a knee.
Well, I think these leaves should have been bigger. Like the whole thing looks very small.
Yeah.
Right? Mm-hmm. So it just kind of looks like a misuse of the space.
Yeah. It's just not right. It's just not reading the way it should.
I like the idea of this, but it has this like... You know when you go to pick spaghetti up and it's all like you haven't stirred it enough and so it starts to clump together in places and parts of the edges are burned and the center is all like attached. It kind of has like that feel to it. It's just a big blob in the center for some reason. Because you didn't stir your spaghetti.
No lines or boulder lines is where I'm at with it. I think the lines are too small. I think they're giving it an overall gray, busy appearance.
I actually think both would be better, like boulder lines around the edges, which you can see they did that.
Yep.
But in the center, it just doesn't matter because there's so much information that it's hard to pull anything apart.
Yeah, its reading is gray.
It all works along the edges. Mm-hmm. You wanted that look all over the place. Mm-hmm. And I don't really think it's that they did more lines in the center, because they didn't. It's just that they're not as striking in the center because they're not as in there. Mm-hmm. The line weight is the same, but since they're not fully saturated at the same depth
and I think
the whole way.
The fix for that is to have used boulder line weight throughout. I don't know.
I just think if they had done that, the whole thing would have been too dark. And you can see what they were trying to do along the outside because it worked there. But the most visible ones are the ones that are in front of the black. Mm-hmm. That's not a whoopsie. That's not a coincidence. It goes to say that if they had used more black breaks in between all of these noodles in the center, then we wouldn't have this ball of dough that we have there. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, I don't know. I think it's not impossible to dig out. I think you just need some really, really firm black in between these kinds of wavy fucking leaf things. Mm-hmm. It's just too much blob texture happening in there.
Yeah, it's not good.